All right, so today we're diving into something, well, juicy. We're going to unpack Prince's love life.
Ooh, juicy is right. This is going to be good.
But, and this is key, we're not just listing off names and dates. We're going deeper, looking at what these relationships reveal about Prince, the man behind the Purple One persona.
Exactly.
That's
Like, what can these women tell us about his music, his personality, the whole package?
Exactly. And the really cool thing here is we're actually hearing from these women directly, right? This deep dive is based on a compilation of interviews, so it's their stories in their own words.
Raw and unfiltered, which is what we want.
Yeah. It's like instead of relying on gossip and speculation, we get those intimate glimpses straight from the source.
Right, because think about it. Who knows a person better than, well, the people they've been romantically involved with?
Okay, so true. And it seems like a pattern emerges pretty quickly when you look at Prince's early relationships. He was drawn to strong, talented women, particularly in the music industry.
Totally. I mean, Sheila E is a prime example. I mean, this is a woman who's a legend in her own right, a percussion powerhouse.
Seriously. And she didn't just fall head over heels for him either.
Nope. In fact, she actually resisted his advances at first.
Which speaks volumes, honestly. She wasn't going to be just another conquest. She had her own thing going on.
For sure, and I think that independent streak, that's what probably attracted Prince even more. Remember that quote where she talks about how they couldn't resist each other?
Oh, yeah. Sparks are flying, for sure.
It was electric. And you see this kind of dynamic play out again and again with other women, too. Like, think about Susan Moonsie. She was just starting out as a songwriter, and then, boom, there's this connection with Prince, both personally and creatively.
Yeah, like their shared passion for music totally spilled over into their personal lives. And then there's Vanity. Talk about a transformation. She went from modeling to being the lead singer of Vanity 6, all under Prince's guidance.
Total makeover. It shows just how much influence he had, how he could, mold and shape talent.
He definitely had a vision, that's for sure. But it's interesting because even though there are all these stories, Vanity herself kind of distanced herself from the whole narrative around Prince and his love life.
Yeah, that's true. She famously said, "I only know my own," which I think is pretty important to remember here.
For sure. Like we're putting together a puzzle, right? Trying to understand Prince through these relationships.
Exactly. And each relationship is just one piece of the puzzle. We're getting these little glimpses, but it's still a complex picture.
Absolutely. And it gets even more complex and way more interesting as we move into the mid-'80s. Talk about a whirlwind, right? I mean, Purple Rain comes out and suddenly Prince is everywhere on top of the world. And it seems like his love life got a whole lot more, active too.
Oh yeah, the mid-'80s, that was a wild time for him. It's like all that creative energy, all that fame, it kind of spilled over into his relationships.
And Devon DeVasquez got a front row seat to that whole scene, right? She had this intense but brief thing with Prince right at the peak of Purple Rain mania.
And her stories are amazing. Like, she talks about these glamorous parties, breakfast dates where they'd eat like royalty. But she always had to be super discreet.
Right, like keeping it on the down low was part of the whole mystique.
Totally. Which, just made him even more intriguing, right? But you also get the sense that being with Prince, it came with certain expectations,
And Susanna Melvoin, she definitely got caught up in that world too, right? Twin sister of Wendy, the guitarist in Revolution. Talk about keeping it in the family.
Talk about complicated. But Susanna's experience is interesting because she talks about feeling like a bird in a gilded cage.
Ooh, yeah, that's a powerful image.
Right, like there's this opulence, this excitement, but also a sense of being maybe a little bit trapped.
And it kind of makes you wonder if that need for control, keeping everything just so, if that was part of what led to some of these relationships being so short-lived.
Could be, because you see that need for control play out in a big way with Kim Basinger. I mean, that relationship, that was a whole other level.
For real. She uproots her entire life, leaves Hollywood, moves to Minneapolis to be with him. You don't make a move like that unless you're head over heels.
Nope, not a chance.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, this is Prince we're talking about, at the height of his powers. He was used to getting what he wanted, and what he wanted was Kim.
And they had that creative spark too, right? Didn't they record an entire album together?
They did. Hollywood Affair. Sadly, it never got released officially, which is a shame.
And then, classic Prince move. He puts out this super suggestive track, almost like he's singing about the whole breakup, processing it through his music.
Which, let's be real, he was a master of.
Totally. But here's the thing. Even though we see these intense, often short-lived relationships, something seems to shift as we move into the later part of his life.
Like he's searching for something more. something deeper.
Exactly. Speaking of searching for something deeper, we got to talk about Carmen Electra.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she was young, ambitious, and Prince saw something in her.
Right. And not just in a romantic way, although there was definitely that. He really seemed invested in her career, helping her shape her image.
Totally. Like, he even got involved in photo shoots, which is kind of surprising, right? For someone so private, he was really hands-on with her.
Yeah, he definitely wanted to nurture that star power. But even Electra admitted it wasn't always easy. Like, she's talked about how there were always other women around, which had to be tough.
It does make you wonder if some of those old patterns were hard to break, even as he was clearly looking for something more.
And then you have Mayte Garcia, which that relationship was different from the get-go. This wasn't a fling. This was marriage, a deep connection, and sadly, a heartbreaking loss.
Absolutely. The death of their son, Amir, it's just tragic. You can't even imagine what they went through.
And it makes you think about their shared faith, which was a big part of their bond. Like, on one hand, it probably helped them through that grief, but on the other hand...
He might have added another layer of complexity, right? Especially if they processed their grief in different ways.
Definitely. But even with the heartbreak, you still see this capacity for love in Prince, this desire for a real partnership. And that continues with Manuela Testolini.
Right. Even though that marriage ended in divorce, they did a lot of good together, all that philanthropy work.
Exactly. And it just shows how important those shared values were to him. And then, of course, there's Bria Valente, who was with him at the very end.
And their relationship was really defined by their faith, wasn't it? As Jehovah's Witnesses, they had this really strong spiritual bond.
It's like he found a sense of peace and grounding in that shared spirituality, especially later in life.
Which is really interesting when you think about it. After all the fame, the whirlwind romances, maybe that's what he was searching for all along.
It really makes you think about how we try to define Prince, right? The icon, the musical genius. But when you look at his relationships, you see so much more.
Totally. He was complicated, passionate, always searching for connection. It's like a whole other side of him.
And maybe that's the point. Maybe it's not about trying to put him in a box, but appreciating all those different sides.
Embracing the contradictions. Because Prince, both in love and in music, he defied easy categorization.
Exactly. He challenges us to look deeper, to find the beauty in the complexity, and to never stop searching for those genuine connections.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I think that's what it's all about, those connections that give life meaning.
Couldn't agree more. Well, folks, that's Prince's love life, a story of passion, heartbreak, and a lifelong search for something real. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the music playing.